everyone. You're listening to Alternative Revelations with Linda Emanuel. And you're listening to podcast number 33, all about the ketogenic diet and why it is effective against mycoplasma. But first, I must say this disclaimer that I am not a doctor nor am I a licensed practitioner. Therefore, I cannot give medical advice. And these podcasts are for informational purposes only. And with that said and done, I can begin the podcast. Now, this podcast is going to be very short because there's not too much to say about the ketogenic diet. But first, I've got to remind you about mycoplasma. Mycoplasma is the smallest living organism, even smaller than a virus. It is only the nucleus of a bacterium, and it needs a host for anything it needs to replicate and survive. It absolutely needs sugar, and it also needs fat. And I suggest that you listen to the coconut oil podcast, Why Coconut Oil Kills Mycoplasma. And mycoplasma is spread through the sharing of body fluids, either by mouth or through sex. And people are getting sick every day. And usually a mycoplasma hits you around between 40s and 60s. That's when people, their lifestyle catches up with them. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the next podcast is going to be about pH, why pH is so important to fight mycoplasma infection. Now on with the podcast about the ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet is quite the opposite of the regular American diet, which is high in sugar. Fat intake represents 75 to 80% of the diet. Now, fat turns into ketones, which are fuel for the brain and the body. And the logic behind this diet is that mycoplasma metabolizes sugar, and without sugar, it starves and dies. The diet does allow some carbohydrate intake, but only 5 to 10% of the total calories consist of good carbs. Meat is allowed, but too much meat intake causes meat to turn into glucose, which defeats the purpose of this diet. Only 10 to 15% of the diet is from protein. Now I'm going to start off with vegetables and fruits, which are allowed and make up 5 to 10% of the total calories. Artichokes, asparagus, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, celery, cucumbers, eggplant, garlic, green beans, jicama, kale, leek, lettuce, mushrooms, okra, onions, parsley, peppers, pumpkin, radishes, radicchio, rhubarb, scallions, shallots, snow peas, spaghetti squash, summer squash, tomatoes, watercress, wax beans, and zucchini. Now the following are allowable fruit, and again this makes up 5 to 10% of calories. Blackberries, blueberries, cranberries, lemons, limes, raspberries, and strawberries. And again, these are all low in sugar, which mycoplasma needs. Now the following are what protein is allowed, and this makes up 10 to 15% of the diet. Bacon, beef, beef jerky, beef roast, bratwurst, chicken with the skin on, fish, ground beef, goose, ham, hot dogs, pepperoni, pheasant, pork chops, pork ribs, pork rind, pork roast, quail, salami, sausage, shellfish, steak, tuna, turkey, and veal. Now the fats allowed, which make up 75 to 80% of the diet: almonds, almond butter, almond oil, of avocado, avocado oil, beef tallow, blue cheese, Brazil nuts, butter, cheese, chia seeds, chicken fat, coconut, coconut cream, unsweetened coconut milk, coconut oil, cream cheese, dark chocolate, which is 75% cacao, fish oil, flaxseed oil, and flaxseed, ghee, Greek yogurt, which is plain and low sugar, heavy whipping cream, hemp seed and oil, lard, macadamia nuts, mayonnaise, olive oil, which is extra virgin, pecans, pistachios, sour cream, sunflower seeds, and walnuts. Now the following are absolutely what is not allowed, and again, these are high in sugar, and bread is high. Bread turns into sugar in the body. Absolutely no citrus, fruit, juices, bananas, apples, grapes, etc. are allowed under fruit, just those on the list. And you might notice that there were no potatoes, carrots, grains, or beans allowed, and these all turn into sugar. And this is going to be hard for some people. Absolutely no alcohol or soda is allowed. And for a sweetener, I use stevia, and the only one I can use is the Pyure, Pyure. Most of the other ones I have an allergic reaction to. Now, there are many websites that talk about the ketogenic diet, and this diet is a must for someone who has an active mycoplasma infection, including cancer. But if you're not sick yet, this might be a diet to follow, at least a modified diet. Watch your sugar intake, and again, trauma usually triggers a mycoplasma infection. Also, mycoplasma will awaken when your immune system is down, and it'll gang up on you along with others. But the most common way mycoplasma activates is through a change in pH, through trauma. When you have a trauma, emotional or physical, your body goes into fight or flight, and your body becomes acidic with the release of a lot of sugar. And this is the most common way for mycoplasma to activate. So just be aware that trauma triggers cancer and disease. Now again, getting back to the ketogenic diet, one suggestion is I use all coconut oil. I don't use any other oil but coconut oil. And if you stir fry your vegetables in coconut oil, it really makes a difference. You're getting your fat plus your vegetables. Plus you're also getting the antimicrobial effect of coconut oil, because mycoplasma cannot use medium chain fatty acids, which make up coconut oil. And when they uptake coconut oil, their membrane dissolves. So in conclusion, cancer and disease are infections. If the host is dead, it is called decomposition. If the host is alive, it is called cancer and disease. It depends where it attacks you in the body. Mycoplasma can attack anywhere in the body. Your eyes, your bones, your teeth. Bacteria cause cavities. So it is all about infections. And if you look back in history, most people who have died naturally die of some kind of a bacterial infection. Viruses are not uncommon, but most of the time, it is bacteria. So you really have to watch your intake of sugar. And sugar became really a supplement in people's diet around the 1700s, when cheap slave labor became available in the Caribbean for the labor-intense growing and refining of sugar. So my next podcast is going to be about the pH and why it is so important to stay alkaline. This discourages a mycoplasma infection. Mycoplasma live between the pH of 5 to 6.8, but plants have a way to defend themselves against mycoplasma too. And nitrogen and sulfur kill mycoplasma, and this is what plants use to protect themselves from insects, fungus, and bacteria. So I hope this podcast was educational. If you want more information about the ketogenic diet, there's lots of websites out there, but the gist behind the ketogenic diet, which a lot of people don't know, is it fights mycoplasma. It absolutely cuts out sugar in your diet, and mycoplasma absolutely need sugar. Now, the powers that be, they know exactly what they're doing by putting a lot of sugar and MSG in the food we eat, but we can outsmart them. Educate yourself to survive. It's all about survival in these days. And I'm going to be doing podcasts in a couple weeks about very interesting subject that really got me enthralled. I've been studying it day and night for the last 2 weeks, and I am quite brain drained from it, but I'm going to share this information, and it's very important information. So again, educate yourself. It's all about knowledge about how to protect yourself from cancer and disease. So until next time, good night and God bless.